agus fáilte got in a shock, so shocking you. I'm going to just keep mine. I wasn't sure how this worked. It was at a Q&A, so I wasn't sure how to do this. But anyway, I'm going to base my whole questioning around workers' rights and I'm the Labour Party spokesperson for workers' rights and for rural and community development and the Gaeltacht. So I'm going to base all my questioning around that. I'm delighted that you're here and that we get, because we don't see enough. I suppose we don't get the opportunity to meet enough. So it's fantastic that you are here. But I think I'm going to, I first want to ask, I suppose, about the EU Inc. and the opportunity that we have during the presidency to look at our labour laws. I mean, we'd love to see a harmonisation of labour laws right across the EU, which I don't think is going to happen. But we're lagging behind. Like, we know that we have one of the weakest workers' rights in Europe. We know that Ireland has. We're waiting for, we've seen an action plan on the implementation of the EU minimum wage directive. The government have been dragging their heels in this. They're like, we have to have the right to collectively bargain. And I think, I suppose, people want to see a social Europe, and we want to see that it makes sense to have, kind of a reasonable idea to have a trading bloc, but not if it's going to be the detriment that we're going to be a country we're going to have shelf companies because it's going to be an ease, because we've got weak labour laws here in Ireland. So I'd love to see your views on that, particularly collective laws, collective labour laws. And then I suppose moving on from that, and I suppose I want to talk about CETA. This arbitration bill has been coming before us in the House, coming before us tomorrow, and we've debated twice here. And I think since I've been elected, it's probably the most piece of legislation I've seen that I'm most concerned about. I think there's no need to have it ratified. It's operating as it is, and I think there's absolutely no reason to have a parallel court system when we've got a very mature court system ourselves. So I'd like to hear your views on that, why we shouldn't be made to do something. And I know that isn't it France and Italy and Belgium are in similar instances. I think that it's not getting enough talk. I know that you've spoken about it. I think that it's not getting enough airways, and I just think it's really concerning that we're not hearing that. I'd also, I suppose, like to hear your views on why under the WRC, why the Clare Morris to Collooney line hasn't been included in TEN-T. Why, again, this is coming from a perspective of rural development and good jobs, and how you're working towards that. I'd love to know how projects do get included in that, and why that part of the WRC wasn't included. I suppose Unity, again, like a border county, I live in Sligo, and Sligo-Leitrim is the area that I represent. What are your moves around Unity? How have you engaged about this? Like Senator Tully said here, the North didn't want to leave Europe, and it was dragged out of Europe. And how, I suppose, what are you and your party groupings doing to ensure that this is not just left to kind of these talks and with no actual concrete plan put in place. And I suppose as the Irish language, we know since 2022 that the Irish language is recognised as a working language in Europe. And where would you see your role within that in promoting the working use of the Irish language? We can see there's a huge resurgence and interest in the Gaeilge here, and thanks to a lot of cultural references, I would say, like NECAP and loads of other things, but there is a massive surge in interest in Irish, and I'm just wondering, where do you sit on that? Where's your role in that and promoting? I think from representing an area, again, where we have islands and we have a Gaeltacht within our region, where's your role in that? And I suppose, and just finally around, I suppose as well, I think about CAP, that I come from community work, but I work as a community worker, so I suppose I come from that, and I know, Kieran, I've seen you, and loads of I've met you at leader conferences, and there is real concern amongst leader projects about that their money is not going to be ring-fenced anymore, and I suppose what's your role within that? And finally, I suppose the Occupied Territories Bill, I know that for the 27, am I right thinking that 27 foreign ministers have, and I know, Barry, that you've done it, you made a statement there recently, and you've done that you are very much in favour of banning goods and services. Am I right thinking this from an EU perspective with Israel? Am I right? Maybe I'll come back to you about it, but I'm just wondering, what's holding it up? Why is it not happening? Why Israel is a rogue, it's a terrorist state, and why is it not happening that there's full EU sanctions between any trade in goods and services between the EU and Israel? Or Margaret.